Detroit, Michigan. Yom Kippur 1929. 3 men walked through the synagogue doors. Louis Fleischer, Harry Fleischer, Henry Shore. Members of the Purple Gang, Detroit's most vicious criminal organization. The gang controls the city's illegal gambling operations. They smuggle liquor across the Canadian border during Prohibition. They run extortion rackets, prostitution rings, protection schemes. Their weapons: Tommy guns, bombs, arson, ice picks, blackjacks. Their reputation: more ruthless than Capone's Chicago outfit. The 3 gangsters take their seats. They wear suits. They carry prayer books. Around them, Orthodox Jews bow and pray. The Day of Atonement. The holiest day in the Jewish calendar. A day to fast, to repent, to seek forgiveness for sins. These men have sins to atone for: murders, beatings, bombings, extortion. But they sit in the pews like any other congregant. 3 other men sit in the back row. Black hats, black coats, long beards. They look like Hasidic Jews. They are not. They are federal agents. G-men. FBI. They have been tracking the Purple Gang for months. They know Louis Fleischer. They know Harry Fleischer. They know Henry Shore. They have warrants. The plan: wait until the service ends. Follow the gangsters outside. Arrest them in the street. Away from the synagogue. Away from witnesses. The service continues. Prayers in Hebrew. The congregation stands. The congregation sits. Hours pass. The federal agents wait. They watch the 3 gangsters. The gangsters pray. Intermission arrives. The congregation takes a break. Men step outside. Men gather in groups. They talk. They drink water. It is a long service. Yom Kippur services last all day. The 3 federal agents remain in the back. One reaches into his pocket. He pulls out a pack of cigarettes. He strikes a match. The flame flickers. He lights the cigarette. His partner does the same. A 3rd agent follows. A man nearby turns. He stares. Other congregants notice. Eyes shift toward the 3 men in black. Whispers begin. Yom Kippur law is absolute: no fire, no flame, no smoking. Lighting a match on Yom Kippur is forbidden. Every Jew knows this. Every Orthodox Jew especially. The whispers spread. The 3 men in black are not Jews. The 3 men in black are not Hasidic. The 3 men in black are imposters. Louis Fleischer hears the whispers. Harry Fleischer turns his head. Henry Shore sees the 3 men with cigarettes. Recognition flashes. They know. They understand. Federal agents. In disguise. In the synagogue. Waiting for them. The 3 gangsters move. They do not run. They walk. Calmly. Toward a side exit. They push through a door. They disappear into the Detroit streets. The federal agents realize their mistake. They drop their cigarettes. They rush after the gangsters. Too late. The Purple Gang members are gone. The FBI will not catch them that day. The gangsters escaped because the federal agents did not know Jewish law. They did not know that fire is forbidden on Yom Kippur. Their ignorance saved 3 of Detroit's most wanted criminals. This incident is documented. But it is not unique. Harry Horowitz sits in a cell. They call him Gyp the Blood. He is a killer. A member of the Lenox Avenue gang. He has enormous strength. He once broke a man's back for entertainment. He shows no mercy. He shows no remorse. Horowitz and 3 accomplices murdered Herman Rosenthal, a gambler who talked to police. A judge convicted them. A judge sentenced them to death. Electric chair. Sing Sing prison. April 13, 1914. Guards come for Harry Horowitz. They walk him down the corridor. They strap him into the electric chair. Leather restraints around his wrists. Around his ankles. Around his chest. Electrodes attached to his head. To his leg. Horowitz does not struggle. He does not cry. He speaks. In Hebrew. He recites the Shema. The Jewish prayer affirming the oneness of God. The prayer every Jew is supposed to say before death. He finishes the prayer. The executioner throws the switch. Electricity surges through Harry Horowitz's body. He dies instantly. The April 18, 1914, edition of The Forward, a Yiddish newspaper, reports this detail. A killer. A brute. A man who broke every commandment. But in his final moment he recites the Shema. One of his accomplices, Louis Lefty Louis Rosenberg, walks to the electric chair holding a chumash, a book containing the 5 books of Moses. He holds it as they strap him in. He holds it as they kill him. Sam Red Levine is a contract killer. He works for Charles Lucky Luciano, one of the most powerful mobsters in America. According to Martin Gosch and Richard Hammer's 1975 book The Last Testament of Lucky Luciano, Luciano called Red the best driver and hitman I had. Red Levine is also an Orthodox Jew. He always wears a kipah under his hat. He eats only kosher food. No pork. No shellfish. No mixing meat and dairy. He observes the Sabbath. Friday sundown to Saturday sundown. The day of rest. Levine refuses to plan murders on the Sabbath. He refuses to carry out hits on the Sabbath. His schedule revolves around Jewish law. If a job must be done on Shabbat, he follows a ritual. He puts on a talith, a prayer shawl. He says his prayers. Then he goes out and kills the target. This is documented in Gosch and Hammer's book. A contract killer who separates his religious obligations from his professional obligations. A man who prays before he murders. Abner Zwillman controls organized crime in Newark. They call him Lungy Zwillman. Some call him the Al Capone of New Jersey. He operates bootlegging operations, gambling rackets, loan sharking, extortion. Next to Meyer Lansky, he is the most prominent Jewish mob boss in America. He built his empire through intelligence and violence. Zwillman maintains his connection to Judaism. Jerry Kugel's father, Himmy, was Zwillman's close friend. When Himmy Kugel died, Zwillman attended the funeral. But he stood outside the funeral home. He would not enter. Jerry Kugel could not understand. He approached Zwillman. He asked why he would not go inside. Zwillman replied that he could not. Jerry asked why. Zwillman said, "Because I'm a Cohen." A Cohen. A descendant of the ancient Jewish priestly class. Jewish law forbids Kohanim from coming into contact with the dead. Zwillman, a gangster who ordered murders, who ran violent criminal operations, refused to enter a funeral home because of this religious restriction. Jerry Kugel recounted this story in a 1991 interview with researcher Robert Rockaway, author of But He Was Good to His Mother, The Lives and Crimes of Jewish Gangsters. Louis Lepka Buchalter commands Murder Incorporated. His gang terrorizes New York's garment industry. They use acids, bludgeons, blackjacks, knives, fire, ice picks, guns. At his peak, Buchalter controls the Bakery and Pastry Drivers Union, the Milliners Union, the Garment Workers Union, the Poultry Market, the Taxicab Business, the Motion Picture Operators Union, the Fur Truckers Union. His gang murders hundreds. FBI files document his brutality. The pattern repeats across America. Detroit, New York, Chicago, Newark, Los Angeles. Jewish gangsters who commit every crime in the book. Who murder. Who steal. Who extort. But who also attend synagogue. Who fast on Yom Kippur. Who keep kosher homes. Who circumcise their sons. Who make bar mitzvahs. The question becomes obvious. Why? The answer lies in their origins. Eastern Europe. 1881 to 1914. Between 1881 and 1914, approximately 2 million Jews immigrate to America from Eastern Europe. They flee pogroms. They flee poverty. They flee persecution. They come from Russia. From Poland. From Romania. From Lithuania. From the Pale of Settlement. Most settle in urban centers. New York's Lower East Side. Chicago's West Side. Detroit's East Side. Philadelphia's South Street. Boston's North End. These immigrants bring their traditions with them. According to Arthur Hertzberg's 1997 book The Jews in America, most immigrant families are not part of the religious elite. The truly Orthodox rabbis warned their followers that America was a treif Medina, a non-kosher land. Those who heeded the warnings stayed in Europe. Many would later perish in the Holocaust. But the Jews who immigrated, while not strictly Orthodox, maintained traditional Jewish patterns. They observed dietary laws at home. They attended synagogue on holidays. They said Kaddish for their dead parents. They celebrated Sabbath dinners. They lit candles on Friday night. Sociologist Charles Liebman, in his 1993 book The Ambivalent American Jew, called this Jewish folk religion. Not strict observance, but cultural practice. Identity through ritual. The children of these immigrants grow up in densely packed Jewish neighborhoods. Yiddish is spoken on the streets. Kosher butchers line the avenues. Synagogues occupy corner buildings. Hebrew schools operate after public school hours. Jewish holidays punctuate the calendar. This is the environment that shapes the future gangsters. Meyer Lansky is born in 1902 in Grodno, then part of the Russian Empire. His family immigrates to New York in 1911. They settle on the Lower East Side. He grows up surrounded by Jewish immigrants, Jewish traditions, Jewish poverty. Benjamin Bugsy Siegel is born in 1906 in Brooklyn. His parents are Jewish immigrants from Austria-Hungary. He grows up in a Jewish neighborhood, Jewish culture, Jewish identity. Louis Lepke Buchalter is born in 1897 on the Lower East Side. His parents are Jewish immigrants from Russia. He grows up in tenement housing, surrounded by Jewish immigrants, Yiddish speakers, traditional practices. Abner Zwilman is born in 1904 in Newark. His parents are Jewish immigrants from Russia. He grows up in Newark's Third Ward, a Jewish immigrant neighborhood. These future gangsters attend Hebrew school. They have bar mitzvahs. They speak Yiddish. They eat their mother's kosher cooking. They observe holidays. Jewish ritual becomes embedded in their identity, part of who they are, part of their childhood memory. When these boys turn to crime, through poverty, through opportunity, through choice, they carry these cultural patterns with them. They do not abandon their Jewish identity. They do not reject their upbringing. They compartmentalize. They separate their criminal business from their personal life. But there is another factor, perhaps the most powerful factor: their mothers. Meyer Lansky told Israeli journalist Yuri Dan in 1979, "His mother hated to see us go hungry, and she was always ready to give us her share because, like every Jewish mother in the neighborhood, she gladly sacrificed herself for her children." Jewish mothers in immigrant neighborhoods sacrificed everything for their children. They worked. They saved. They went without food so their children could eat. They embodied selflessness. But they expected something in return. Not money. Not material success. They expected their sons to say Yidden, to be Jews, to maintain connection to the Jewish community, to observe traditions, to remain Jewish. Many Jewish gangsters revered their mothers. Family members and friends reported how Meyer Lansky, Dutch Schultz, Lepke Buchalter, Lungi Zwilman, and Mickey Cohen doted on their mothers. They treated them with utmost kindness and respect. They visited regularly. They gave them money. They protected them. Their relationships with their fathers were more complicated. Many fathers disapproved of their sons' criminal paths. But the mothers, while they might not approve, still demanded their sons remain connected to their Jewish roots. Detroit mobster Harry Kaiser told researcher Robert Rockaway in 1986 that he attended synagogue on the high holidays solely to please his mother. Not because he believed. Not because he was religious. Because his mother expected it. Because it mattered to her. This pattern held across the Jewish underworld. The old-time Jewish mobsters interviewed for Rockaway's research could all speak Yiddish. They all practiced some Jewish customs. Their closest friends and associates were Jews. They married Jewish women, at least their first wives, in ceremonies conducted by rabbis. They contributed money to Jewish causes. They attended synagogue on high holidays. They circumcised their sons. They made bar mitzvahs for their sons. These were not pious men. They did not believe in God, many of them. They violated every commandment: murder, theft, adultery, lying, coveting. But they maintained Jewish rituals. Because the rituals were part of their identity, part of their childhood, part of their connection to their mothers, part of their cultural DNA. A lawbreaker named Myron, interviewed by Rockaway in 1991, who requested his family name not be used, spent years evading FBI prosecution. The Internal Revenue Service finally convicted him of tax evasion. He went to prison. Rockaway asked him, did he want his son to follow in his footsteps? Myron replied, I would say to him that I chose my life, you go choose your life. The only thing is that whatever you choose to do, I would say to him, you gotta put on tefillin every morning, you gotta eat kosher meat, and you have to maintain certain principles. A criminal, a convict, a lawbreaker. But he insisted his son wear tefillin, phylacteries, the leather boxes containing Torah verses that observant Jews bind to their arms and foreheads during morning prayers. He insisted his son eat kosher meat, maintain principles, remain Jewish. This is the paradox. This is the contradiction. Men who built empires on violence and crime. who murdered rivals, who corrupted unions, who smuggled liquor, who ran prostitution rings, who controlled gambling operations, but who also lit Sabbath candles, who fasted on Yom Kippur, who said Kaddish for their parents, who refused to enter funeral homes if they were Kohanim, who prayed before they killed. Behaviorists call this compartmentalization, the ability to maintain contradictory behaviors, to act one way in public life, to act another way in private life, to separate business from personal identity. The Jewish gangsters mastered this. Their criminal operations were business, separate from family, separate from religion, separate from Jewish identity. When they attended synagogue, they were not gangsters. They were Jews. When they sat at their mother's Sabbath table, they were not killers. They were sons. When they attended a bar mitzvah, they were not mobsters. They were community members. But when they returned to business, they became criminals again. They ordered hits. They collected debts. They enforced territory. They eliminated threats. Miami Beach, Florida. 1980. Meyer Lansky is 78 years old. He has survived decades in organized crime. He has worked with Lucky Luciano, with Bugsy Siegel, with Frank Costello. He has been called the financial genius of the mob, the accountant of organized crime. He has been investigated countless times. He has never been convicted of major crimes. Researcher Robert Rockaway interviews him. Lansky tells him he is a non-believer. He does not believe in God. But he maintains his membership in a synagogue. He contributes money regularly for its upkeep. He attends services on Jewish holidays. A non-believer who practices Jewish rituals, who maintains Jewish identity, who remains connected to the Jewish community. This is Meyer Lansky in his final years. A man who spent his life breaking laws, who associated with murderers, who profited from vice, but who never abandoned his Jewish identity, who never stopped being a Jew. The paradox extended to the final moments of many Jewish gangsters' lives. Death did not erase their Jewish identity. It often reinforced it. Sing Sing Prison. April 13, 1914. 4 men are executed for the murder of Herman Rosenthal. Harry Gyp the Blood Horowitz. Louis Lefty Louis Rosenberg. Jacob Whitey Louis Seidenschner. Francesco Dago Frank Sarafasai. All but Sarafasai are Jewish. The forward, the Yiddish newspaper, reports the executions in detail. Horowitz recites the Shema before the electricity kills him. Rosenberg holds a chumash. Seidenschner also carries Jewish texts. These are killers, murderers, men who showed no mercy in life. But in death they cling to their Jewish faith. They recite prayers. They hold holy books. They die as Jews. The pattern continues throughout the decades of Jewish organized crime. Almost all Jewish gangsters, no matter how far they strayed from tradition during their lives, receive Jewish burials. They are buried in Jewish cemeteries. Rabbis conduct their funerals. Kaddish is recited. Jewish burial societies prepare their bodies according to Jewish law. Their families sit Shiva, the 7-day mourning period. The criminal dies, but the Jew remains. Mount Hebron Cemetery in Queens, New York, contains the graves of numerous Jewish gangsters. Louis Lepke Buckelter is buried there. Benjamin Bugsy Siegel, murdered in Beverly Hills in 1947, is buried at Hollywood Forever Cemetery, but his funeral was conducted by a rabbi. Jewish prayers were said. Jewish customs were observed. Meyer Lansky, who died in 1983, received a Jewish burial. Despite a lifetime of crime, despite associations with murderers and drug dealers, despite investigations and accusations, his funeral was Jewish. Prayers in Hebrew. A rabbi presiding. Burial according to Jewish law. The Jewish underworld maintained this pattern consistently. Regardless of the crimes committed. Regardless of the commandments broken. At death, the gangsters returned to their roots. To their traditions. To their people. The Penteli Yid, the spark of Jewishness, remained. Even in men who had spent decades committing the most terrible crimes. This raises deeper questions about identity and culture. About the power of childhood upbringing. About the influence of mothers. About the impossibility of escaping origins. These men could change their names. They could wear expensive suits. They could dine with politicians and celebrities. They could accumulate wealth and power. But they could not stop being Jewish. The culture was embedded too deeply. The traditions were too much a part of their formation. The Jewish gangsters existed in a world of contradictions. They violated Jewish law daily. The Torah commands, do not murder, do not steal, do not bear false witness, do not covet. They broke these commandments as a matter of business. Murder was a tool. Theft was an operation. Lying was strategy. But they still observed other commandments. They honored their mothers. They remembered the Sabbath. They circumcised their sons. They participated in Jewish holidays. This selective observance might seem hypocritical. It might seem like they were cherry-picking the parts of Judaism they liked while ignoring the parts that conflicted with their criminal enterprises. And in a sense, that is exactly what they were doing. But it was not calculated hypocrisy. It was cultural identity. The rituals they observed were the rituals embedded in childhood. The rituals their mothers demanded. The rituals that connected them to community and family. When Lepka Buckelter attended high holiday services, he was not seeking forgiveness from God. He continued his criminal operations. He continued ordering murders. But he attended because it was what Jews did. Because his mother expected it. Because it was part of his identity as a Jew. When Sam Red Levine wore a kippah under his hat, he was not making a theological statement. He was maintaining the practices of his Orthodox upbringing. When he said prayers before a hit, he was not seeking divine blessing for murder. He was following the ritual patterns established in childhood. Separate the sacred from the profane. Acknowledge the tradition. Then do the job. This compartmentalization allowed these men to function without cognitive dissonance. They did not see themselves as bad Jews. They saw themselves as Jews who happened to be in a particular line of work. Their criminal activities were business. Their Jewish observance was identity. The two existed in parallel. They rarely intersected. When they did, as in the case of Red Levine having to kill on Shabbat, ritual provided a bridge. Say the prayers. Observe the form. Then do what must be done. The Jewish community struggled with this paradox. Rabbis condemned the gangsters. Community leaders denounced them. Newspapers criticized them. The presence of Jewish criminals embarrassed the larger Jewish community. American Jews were trying to assimilate. They were trying to prove themselves as good citizens, as law-abiding people. The existence of high-profile Jewish gangsters contradicted this narrative. It reinforced negative stereotypes. It gave ammunition to anti-Semites. But the gangsters did not care about community embarrassment. They operated by their own code. They supported Jewish causes financially. They attended synagogue. They participated in Jewish life. In their minds, they were still part of the community, still Jews. The fact that they made their living through crime was irrelevant to their Jewish identity. Some gangsters even saw themselves as protectors of the Jewish community. Meyer Lansky and other Jewish mobsters participated in breaking up Nazi rallies in New York in the 1930s. They used their muscle to fight anti-Semitism. They beat up Nazi sympathizers. They disrupted meetings of the German-American Bund. In their view, they were defending Jews, using their criminal skills for a righteous cause. This added another layer to the paradox. Criminals who saw themselves as defenders of their people, who committed violence in the name of protecting Jewish interests, who participated in the community even while bringing shame upon it. New York City, 1939 to 1941. Jewish gangsters, including Lansky and Zwilman, work with Jewish community organizations to disrupt pro-Nazi activities. They are requested by rabbis and community leaders to use violence against American Nazis. They do. Willingly. They see no contradiction. They are Jews. Nazis threaten Jews. Therefore they fight Nazis. The fact that they are criminals does not disqualify them from this role. In fact, their criminal skills make them ideal for it. This is the final paradox. Gangsters as community protectors. Murderers as defenders of the faith. Lawbreakers as patriots. The lines blur. The compartments overlap. Jewish identity supersedes criminal identity. At least in this one arena. The era of Jewish organized crime largely ended by the 1960s. The children of Jewish gangsters did not follow in their fathers' footsteps. They became lawyers, doctors, businessmen, legitimate professionals. The Jewish immigrant neighborhoods that produced the gangsters dispersed. Jews moved to suburbs. They assimilated. The conditions that created Jewish organized crime disappeared. But the story of Jewish gangsters who attended Yom Kippur services remains. It remains as a testament to the complexity of identity. to the power of cultural upbringing, to the impossible to escape influence of mothers, to the strange ways that tradition persists even in the most unlikely people.